Hey y'all, Pi here, and we are back in Our Life, Beginnings and Always, and I'm just gonna warn you guys up top, I might end up having to cut the recording unexpectedly in the middle here, because I am currently waiting on maintenance to come fix my AC and my dryer. The apartment is broken. We're just gonna leave it at that. Anyway, let's jump into Charity. Cove pushed himself to his feet from where he had been bent down in the stands, stretching out his back and groaning softly. A tired breath slipped past his lips as he wiped his brow, looking out over the shore. It looks great. You stood beside him, joining in the surveying of the sand, and almost seemed to sparkle beneath the midday sun. The two of you had been out on the beach since sunrise, cleaning up and down the beach, looking for various debris, and the work had paid off. Using a hand to shield your eyes from the blinding rays, you glanced across the way where the other volunteers from Orca were gathered. They were easily recognizable by the high-vis vests they wore. It looked as though everyone was about ready to wrap things up for the day. I'm happy to see it in a better state. It was pretty sad looking when we got here. The beaches of this town were practically your own personal backyard, and you visited them a lot. Punctuation. It felt good knowing that you were helping to take care of them. Too bad not everybody sees the joy in putting trash where it belongs. Oh well. Yeah, seriously guys, if you cannot throw your trash in the proper receptacles, what's wrong with you? Are you that lazy? Honestly, do you have any idea how many of you slobs I have to clean up after on the daily? And how many of you slobs everybody else in the service industry and like just clean up after yourselves. It's not hard. Rant done. Cove placed his hands on his hips, a pleased grin pulling at the corners of his mouth as he admired the work you'd both done. You had begun to realize during your time volunteering for the organization how seriously Cove took this service of his. It was easy to see that it was something important to him. You felt equally as invested and always gave it your best efforts. Because if you're gonna do something, do it well, honestly. It was important that the ocean you grew up with was protected. It had always been a big part of your life, and you felt that the least you could do was give back to it in some way.
Joy.
Hey, nice work, Joy. Thanks. It's been a good year so far. It's crazy to think that it's already time to push the big event. You let out a big breath, thinking of the formal dinner that Orca organized every year. Being a completely fundraising or focused event for large donors, it was crucial for the organization's projects in the years to come. You had to be over 18 to attend, so this was your first opportunity to actually see it in person. Ooh. All you had heard about it so far was that it was a prim and proper occasion, with speeches and everything. You didn't know what else to expect from it, as you weren't part of the group who planned the evening. Before the big night came round, the volunteers would have to sell the tickets for it, and that's where you'd be helping. So me personally, I hate big get-togethers. So for me, I'd just be like, I don't really wanna, but I think Joy's a little bit less cynical about humans. That they actually seem to like people. So I'm curious about the night. It might be fun. I've never been to a professional type party. Cove nodded, though he still seemed reluctant. I just don't feel excited about attending a super formal meal with proper etiquette and stuff, you know? Oh yeah, that's gross. Been to a couple formal dinners and it's just like, why do I have to be uncomfortable around people I don't like, eating food I'm not that into, to celebrate something that could have been better celebrated more casually? Maybe that's just my personality, I don't know. He threw his arms out to the side, making a bit of a show at how ridiculous it seemed to him. I've got sand all over my room and only one nice shirt, and I go barefoot pretty much whenever I can. I'm gonna be so out of place. Relatable content. Let's give him a little confidence boost. You can make it work for one night. It'll only be a few hours, then it'll be over and you can go back to the sea. Cove chuckled softly under his breath, smoothing his hair away from his face. I guess you're right. I love Cove's laugh. I think that's the first time I've heard adult Cove laugh. That was cute. A small beeping noise came from Cove's pants pocket, and he pulled it out and glanced at the screen.
Huh?
It's the organizers. They've sent a text to the group. Time to call it a day here. Alright, ready to head out to our next activity? Cove tucked his cell away eagerly, turning to you. Let's head over and drop the trash bags off at the trucks. Then we can drive back and join the ticket team. We've got to be there pretty soon to relieve them. With a stretch of shore this long, the plan was to switch places with the other team who had been pushing the tickets for the fundraising dinner halfway through. It would be a full day of work, but it was Orca's largest event of the year, and all hands were on deck to make sure it was a success. Little bit of skinship. You nudged your shoulder against Cove's. He chuckled and nudged you back playfully with his now free hand. You collected the trash bags spread along the way together, heading across the beach to hoist them into trucks before heading off to the next job. Cove slipped his warm hand in yours, and you intertwined your fingers, strolling back to the car side by side. Aw, cute. The drive back to your neighborhood and making your way to the shopping street was fairly quick, though Cove stressed a little about being late. Luckily, he was able to find a parking spot nice and close to where you needed to be. You jumped out of the car and quickly went towards where you knew the group would be. Finally reaching the stall that was set up to sell tickets, you stopped for a moment to catch your breath. That was quite the flurry of activity. It would be your job for the rest of the afternoon to help sell tickets for the fundraising dinner, and looking around the street, you saw that there were plenty of potential buyers out today. That would hopefully help to move the tickets along. The stall itself was simple, a portable table with a few plush sea animals as decorations and a banner stuck across the front. There were 2 volunteers who were already packing up and getting ready to head off to the beach. They gave both of you a friendly smile as you arrived. Hey Cove, Joy. How'd things go at the beach?
Not bad.
It was good. The place is looking great. We're lucky to get a 2-for-1 when it comes to you guys. Cove cleared his throat awkwardly from beside you, and you noticed his cheeks flushing pink. Aww. Here we go again. That's right, that's us. We're joined at the hips, some might say. The volunteers chuckled and packed up the last of their stuff, and Cove seemed to relax a little more. The volunteers made a room for you and Cove behind the table while they circled around to the front of it. Thanks for coming in for a shift. We'd better make this quick so we can head off to the next place. Yeah, fine. We're ready for whatever is needed. One of the volunteers handed you a clipboard with all the details needed to sell tickets, while the other tossed a set of keys to Cove, which he caught with ease. Those are for the money box and supply kit. Make sure to keep them on you at all times. Ooh. Responsibility! Aside from handling the cash for the tickets, there's also a form on the clipboard for the guests to fill in their info. That way we know how many tickets we sold and who will be attending the event. There's a small script beneath that if you get stuck for what to say, and that's about it. Pretty simple, huh?
Uh-huh.
I think we've got this. Satisfied that you knew what you were doing, the volunteers said their goodbyes and started walking away, leaving you and Cove to manage the stall alone. The keys jingled in his hand as Cove waved them off before he stuffed them into the pocket of his pants for safekeeping. We'll bring in a lot of money. Have fun at the beach! Once the volunteers were out of sight, Cove dropped down into a chair behind the counter with a sigh. We made it here just in time. It's cool we traded places with nothing happening. They might have been late getting to cleanup duty. He leaned back in his seat, getting fully comfortable in the space, and gave you a small smile. You took the other seat. It was just a simple plastic chair that squeaked when you sat on it, but it gave you a good view of the street. You returned his smile. It had been a bit of a mad rush to get here, but everything had turned out alright in the end. Cove rummaged around the station a little, picking up a stuffed toy orca and holding it up in front of his face. You had to admit it was pretty cute with his big, bulging eyes and oversized flippers. Setting it back down on top of the table, Cove moved on to check out the rest of the stall, finding a cooler stash beneath the table. When he pulled it out and opened the lid, you could see it was filled with half-melted ice cubes and about half a dozen bottles of water. How good. Grabbing one of the plastic bottles, he unscrewed the cap and took a long drink. You watched the condensation running along the side and onto his fingers. Alright, Joy. Do you want one? Cove set his water on his side of the table before pulling out another, holding it out towards you. So, in reality, my water bottle goes with me everywhere. I've had a couple different ones, but I always have one ever since high school. But I feel like lugging a bottle around while picking up trash on the beach is maybe not the best plan of action. At least for sanitary reasons. So, I'm gonna say I accepted the water bottle. Thanks. After opening it up, you took a drink and let out a satisfied sigh. You hadn't realized how thirsty you'd been, and it was always good to stay hydrated. The two of you got settled in easily, and you took the chance to look over the paperwork on the clipboard. Cove joined you, leaning over your shoulder to get a better look. Seems like pretty standard stuff. He muttered, and you nodded quietly. It had general info about the event and the work you needed to do at the stall, as well as the amount of tickets sold thus far, and the number remaining. Cove tapped a finger on the counter as he read quietly over the notes, muttering a few things now and then that you couldn't fully hear. He seemed content to be there, and you were sure that the afternoon would pass by quickly. When he glanced out towards the crowd and made a small sound, you followed his line of sight to see a potential supporter was on their way over to the booth. Again, me personally, I don't like humans. In general. Like, I don't like crowds, I don't like dealing with strangers, and I despise customer service. Like giving customer service. But Joy is not me. Joy is very decidedly not me. Joy is bubbly, Joy is friendly, they actually seem to like people, so I'm just gonna say, you psyched yourself up. This could be your first ticket sale of the day. You had to give it all you had to make sure the event was successful. Hi, how are you doing today? Time passed as the two of you manned the stall, and as people approached, your sales pitch would either have them asking for a ticket or two, or heading off and mumbling, maybe next time. All in all, you managed to sell a decent amount of tickets, and you could tell that Cove was happy with the outcome. As the afternoon drifted along, 6 p.m. arrived. Time to pack everything up and head home for the evening. Your work with Orca was far from over, but right now there was only one thing left to focus on, attending the actual event. Party time. The days continued on in a normal flow, and before long, the night of the Orca fundraising dinner was upon you. It was early evening, and you were in your room getting ready as the minutes ticked closer and closer towards the time you needed to leave. I need all the help I can get. Liz was helping you get ready while Cove was on speakerphone. You were currently in the midst of picking out an outfit, which Liz was helping you with, while Cove gave his input from the phone. Of course, Cove couldn't see any of the items you and Liz were choosing between, but he was trying to help all the same. Good boyfriend. The event had strict guidelines, and you wouldn't be let in unless you were addressed to code. That meant having to find a truly professional outfit, but one that you were also happy with. Ugh. You wanted to be practical about it. It was going to be quite a long evening, so you wanted to make sure you were dressed comfortably while sticking to the letter of the code. Your nose wrinkled in thought as you rifled through the options, silently weighing the pros and cons of each.
That's fine.
You don't need to get too in your head thinking about the look, but you do need to hurry up and pick something. Whatever you go with, it'll be great. Aw, you both are useless! You laughed a little. It really shouldn't be this difficult to pick something out. You just needed to take the plunge and do it. Taking a deep breath to refocus yourself, you looked over the options one last time. It was time to decide on an outfit, and quick. Shit. I think I'm gonna go for something that's a little bit of a... I don't know if most people would necessarily consider this sort of a hybrid style, but in my brain, like, a button-down shirt is going to be more of a masculine article of clothing, whereas the skirt is typically more feminine, so like together it kind of blends. I don't know, I'm trying to explain this, but I feel like you people are gonna look at me funny. Anyway, you chose a button-down shirt and a skirt. Liz nodded in approval, clapping her hands together, satisfied.
Good.
Finally, we're making some progress. That sounds like it'd be totally fine. I'm wearing just a shirt with buttons and slacks, personally. Standing in front of your mirror, you quietly assessed your outfit. You thought about adding an accessory, too. It needed a little something extra to finish it all off. Rummaging through the rest of your wardrobe, you picked out what you needed to complete your outfit. I'm going for a tie. Personally, I don't wear ties. I do not own one. But I think that would look cute as fuck. Liz took the item from your hands and helped tie it around your neck correctly. You stepped in front of the mirror when she was done, nodding in approval. And an anklet, just for some personality. You had to quickly remove your shoes to slip on the anklet before stepping back into them again. Ooh, should I add a vest? Yeah, I'm gonna add a vest. It was a formal event after all, and you couldn't think of a better time to wear it. And that was everything. And with that, fuck makeup. You were ready to go. Finally, you were dressed. It had all come together. Okay, just gotta change my shirt and then I'll be at the car. See you in a minute. Cove, what have you been doing all this time? When you looked at Liz again, she had a goofy smile pulling at her lips. You look very nice, Joy. You twisted around in your outfit excitedly. Knowing you had made the right decision with everything had you feeling more confident. Liz wiped a pretend tear away with her finger, sniffling dramatically. Oh, precious Joy, you're really all grown up. It happened in the blink of an eye when I wasn't even looking. She chuckled to herself, nudging you towards the door. Alright, time to get downstairs. Your very official, though still kind of baby boyfriend awaits. Aww. You carefully headed down the stairs and into the living room, where your moms were waiting for your appearance. As you entered, they both stood from the couch and came over to you, smiling broadly. You look so wonderful, Joy.
Nice.
And very mature, too. I know, right? They continued to coo and fuss over you until you managed to brush them off. Ma took Mom by the arm and held her close, the two of them admiring you proudly. You enjoyed the attention. How do you like my outfit? Another round of praise began, and you smiled happily to yourself. It was nice being so lauded. Ma came in to give you one last hug, and before you knew it, another pair of arms was wrapped around you, and then a third. Both Mom and Liz giggled as they hugged you tight. We hope you have so much fun tonight.
Have fun.
We won't wait up for you. Stay out as long as you need. You're old enough now. With the last wave goodbye, you left your family and approached the front door. It was time. Stepping out into the night, you closed the door behind you gently and looked out across the street. Damn, Cove. Cove was standing there in the street. His eyes met yours immediately, as if he had been watching your house for the moment you would come out. He smiled bashfully. Hey, Joy. Hey, stranger. I barely recognize you. He took the chance to check over his outfit as he walked across the way to meet you. It was formal for sure, though it didn't feel overly posh. It made sense for him, and was honestly a sight for sore eyes. He was always beautiful to you. With a growing smile, he stepped closer, his cheeks reddening all the way down to his neck.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming with me, and for dressing really nicely for this. Your outfit, it's just perfect. Aww. His gaze traveled downwards to take in your full form. My eyes are up here, Cove. And He leaned in, only inches away from your face, to whisper in your ear, his warm breath tickling your skin. I like the ankle bracelet. Yes! That's why I wore it! Your cheeks went hot, and you bit down on your lip to keep from smiling too much. I appreciate so much that literally everything that came before in this game gets referenced again, and like you get opportunities to bring it back up into the story and like just keep it rolling, keep it moving forward. It makes me so fucking happy. I wore it for you. I promised I'd wear this anklet for you, didn't I? And it is a special night. He smiled at you softly, the corners of his eyes crinkling as he brought his face even closer, to the point where the tips of your noses were touching. You're always too nice to me. He raised a hand and lightly trailed his fingers down your side, his touch tingling your skin through the fabric of your shirt. It's getting a little wild here. You started to wonder if it was a good idea after all. Cove acting like that was killing you, and you hadn't even started the trip to dinner yet. Ah, teenagers in love. Horny little rabbits. It took a great amount of effort to focus your thoughts and react to his overall assessment to your look. In my defense, Cove started it. So I'm just gonna say, "You're so hot right now," you said flirtatiously. Cove hung his bright red face in embarrassment after that. He wrapped his arms around his torso bashfully as if trying to protect himself and the outfit from further teasing. Come on, Joy. I am not missing an opportunity. I will make fun of you until the day you die. That's what you signed up for. Fun fact, I also give the wife hell. In case you were wondering. You laughed at the reaction. Then he shook his head, glanced back towards the garage, and, throwing a thumb over his shoulder, spoke.
Come on.
We should probably get going. Wouldn't want to be late to such a grown-up event, right? Yeah, let's go. You headed over to Cove's car together, hopping in and strapping on your seatbelts. You were on your way. The event was being held at a place you had never been to before. You brought up the location on your phone to help Cove navigate there. It took some time to find the right address, and once you were there, you were met with the task of finding a parking spot. Though you were on time, it seemed like everyone else had already showed up and claimed the spaces. Always. Eventually, you found a suitable place before realizing that it required payment. Cove covered the amount, taking a ticket from the machine and leaving it on the dashboard of the car. I hate that. That is precisely why I never want to go downtown, like drive into downtown, because it's just such a pain. You can't park anywhere, and everywhere that you can park costs money, and every parking lot has different rates, and some of them are kind of scams, and the ones that are cheap are also like completely uncovered, and there's like 10 spots total, and there's usually at least one homeless person who's hanging around suspiciously. I'm not a city person. Anyway, despite the small holdup, you managed to ultimately make it to the event and confirm you were on the guest list before being shown into the dining area. Cove whistled low as he looked around, taking in the extravagance of the room. Chandeliers hung from the ceiling, and the entire place was decked out with beautiful oceanic displays. It is gorgeous, actually. I do appreciate the decor. You were stunned yourself. It was extremely high class, even more so than you had already expected. This is the best looking event I've ever been to. Your lips parted into a wondrous smile as you took in the decorations and the guests all dressed to the nines. Cove met your eyes with a similar look on his face. You got the impression that he felt the same way about it all. The sound of your names being called out echoed over the din in the room. When you looked around, you recognized a couple of the organization leaders looking your way. They approached you both in greeting, giving you a welcoming smile and a hello. Cove, Joy, we're glad to see you could make it, especially after all the hard work you've done to help make this night happen.
Of course.
Definitely, I wasn't gonna miss it. Alright, so full disclosure, there was kind of a break in the recording that was both much longer than anticipated and not actually what I was expecting to have to break for. little bit of shenanigans with the wife's work. But, that's sorted now, and I might have to cut this episode short because of it, because I just spent 3 hours driving around, which is great. Exactly how I wanted to spend my afternoon. Anyway, I wouldn't miss it either. This is our big night. Of course we had to see what we were working towards. Well, thank you for being a part of the team. You're our best power couple, that's for sure. You're always welcome to participate in more activities when they come up. Cove let out an awkward, breathy laugh and rubbed the back of his neck. Me and the boyfriend would be happy to. Aww. Cove shrugged, then eyes darting around the place with an awkward look.
So...
I guess we should talk to more people. There isn't much else to do at an event like this. You found your way into groups of people who were standing around chatting while some light music played in the background. Servers with large silver trays were gliding between the guests, offering drinks and canapes? The fuck are canapes? Canapes? I don't know. Anybody who has any idea what that is, please let me know, because I don't. Cove was clearly hesitant to actually approach the people, but was able to respond when various people greeted him first. Aw, poor baby's shy. You were enjoying talking to so many different people, both guests and members of the organization alike, and found yourself enjoying the company. The sound of a microphone crackling came from the podium at the other end of the room. Someone who you assumed must be the host for the event was asking everyone to sit down in preparation for the meal and speeches. You and Cove looked for your table, finding it easily enough by the little name cards that were placed delicately beside the napkins. A few others joined you at the table, though they weren't anyone you recognized. Oh, I hate that. I hate that most of all at these big-ass formal parties where you're basically sat at a table full of strangers. I am not a social butterfly, as it may shock you to discover. Such things bother me deeply. The host was still speaking as people were settling, starting off the speeches by giving a welcome to everyone attending. She went on to provide some information about Orca, which you supposed was for the guests who weren't part of the organization, and the purpose of the fundraiser tonight. Orca's goals, as she explained it, were to aid in the conservation and restoration of oceans and beaches. There were many people who had helped to make the group as successful as it was. When she read off a list of several volunteers who worked on making the event happen, Cove's name was one of the first to come up. His cheeks flushed with a shy pride at that. Aww. Your name then came up a little further down the list. You were smiling from ear to ear at the mention. As she continued to thank the large donors for the event, you checked over at Cove. He was still grinning happily to himself and tapping his fingers over the tops of his knees, pretty pleased to have been mentioned by name. Aww, you were excited for him. He had worked so hard to make this event happen. It was the least that he deserved. While the host continued speaking, multiple servers dressed in black were setting the first course of the menu in front of the guests. One of the servers set down a plate in front of you, and you thanked them quietly before looking over the dish with interest. You recognized the dish as a simple Caesar salad. You know it's gonna be good when they start you off with a Caesar salad. The host quickly wrapped up the end of her speech, thanking everyone once more before inviting you all to begin your meal. Anyone who included a special dietary note when signing up for the event received a vegan or vegetarian version, and there were also small baskets of bread set around the table. Eat everything! You ate both the salad and the bread. Cove wolfed down his salad before munching into a breadstick, quickly devouring that as well. Boy's hungry. I hope the next part comes out soon, and it's bigger. That right there. That's the other problem with fancy dinners. The portion sizes are never filling. It's just, ooh, a little taste of this, a little taste of that. No, I'm hungry. Feed me. You could hear him mumbling to himself as he reached over for another piece of bread. He glanced around the table and you followed his line of sight with curiosity, noting that everyone else was still eating the salad. Ooh. Stopping his hand midair, he quickly pulled back and rested it in his lap without taking another breadstick after all. Aww. It was clear that he was starting to feel unsure of himself, and he looked a little out of place here. Aww. He folded his arms and turned away from them to you. Hey, did you like the salad? It was too small. I'm still pretty hungry. Yeah, me too. His gaze remained purposely tunneled on you, as if he was trying not to even think about what the rest of the table might be doing. Aw. So, in real life, if I were out to a fancy dinner like this with the wife, this would 100% be my move. I would grab a breadstick for her and then one for me, and we would just be rebels together. Partners in crime, as it were. But I think I'm gonna go more for the emotional support here, because I don't know. I feel like this is the more correct course of action, given that neither one of them really understands how this whole thing works. Like, this is their first ever fancy dinner, and they're both kind of trying to take their cues from everybody else. You gave Cove a pat on the hand. His lips tilted up at the corners, and he seemed touched by the reassurance. It wasn't much longer until the main course was arriving, and the various chicken, steak, and veggie dishes were being served throughout the room. An array of scents wafted through the room, making your mouth water. So personally, if I get a choice of my protein, it's gonna be fish or eggs. Chicken's alright. It's not something I really eat every day. But I wouldn't necessarily say I want to go for the vegan or the vegetarian. Steak's right out. Steak's a no. Because it makes me sick. So, I guess I'll say you had chosen the chicken. A plate of perfectly roasted chicken and vegetables was set in front of you with a delectable pale gravy. Cove had gone for the steak, and once he started to eat again, he was completely absorbed by his meal. Ooh. This is forward as fuck, but I want to see what happens. You put a hand on his thigh under the table. You couldn't resist a little teasing while he was distracted. Your arm reached forward out of view of everyone else, hidden by the heavy tablecloth. You let your fingers lay to rest on the center of his nearest thigh. Cove stopped eating immediately, his elbows banging against the top of the table in shock as his face slowly turned red. I'm so sorry. The tableware next to him rattled from the impact. When it settled down, he spoke creakily without moving to face you directly. Yes? Nothing. Is something the matter? Fucking... Oh, I love this. I love this. He flushed. His flustered frown deepened.
That's...
Joy, you should probably... Cove's voice trailed off quietly, and you got the impression that he was about to ask you to stop, but he didn't really want you to. Aww? You kept your hand where it was for a little longer, giving his leg a gentle squeeze, until he cleared his throat and leaned in closer to you. You probably, shouldn't keep doing that right now. Fine. It was a shame it had to end, but you were content with how long he had let you keep your hand where it was. When you returned your hand to your own lap, Cove let out a small sigh of relief and continued eating again, though at a slower pace as he was still distracted from the event. I'm so sorry, Cove! Oh, I feel like a dick now. I'm so sorry. Dinner eventually ended, and last of all was dessert. A lemon sorbet that had been partially dyed blue. Interesting. The mix of white with bold streaks of blue made the little scoop look like a ball of roaring ocean waves. Cute! The effect was very pretty, but the serving size was small. Perhaps it was the price to pay for the artistry. You turned to Cove to find him pouting a little at the size of it. Aw. Digging into the dessert, it took him only a few bites to polish it off. Again, the other people around the table had barely even begun eating. An unimpressed air settled over him as he sat back in his chair, sipping at his water unhappily. Aw. Problem solver, Joy. We can get more dessert later. You gave him an encouraging smile. He looked up at you sheepishly, embarrassed to have been caught sulking over such a thing. He fumbled for a defense.
I mean...
It was just really good, that's all, and now it's gone, but I'm okay. With a slight grin, he shrugged to show that he was really fine. Would you like a bite of mine? You scooped up a spoonful of your sorbet and offered it to him, holding a hand beneath it to avoid any drips. His eyes widened as he eyed the dessert hungrily, surprised by the offer. Recovering quickly, he leaned forward over the table, lifting out the chair a little as he ate the treat from your spoon. As he sat back humming happily with his mouth full, you couldn't help but smile at the sight. Cove swallowed the faux ocean and let out a satisfied sigh, even though it wasn't that much more, the simple fact that he had gotten more to hit the spot.
Thanks.
Aww. You're welcome. You were pleased to see he was perkier, and you went back to eating the rest of your dessert. Another person from Orca got up on stage to make a speech as everyone was nearing the end of their meal. They spoke mostly about the individual projects that the organization was working on and their plans for the near future, as well as encouraging anyone who was interested to consider volunteering. Cove bent forward over the table with his chin balanced on a hand, listening attentively to the words. As they came to a conclusion and everyone gave them a round of applause, Cove caught your eye and smiled. You wondered what would happen now. And then the lights dimmed. A couple of spotlights came on, projecting a water light effect around the room. The guests gushed over the ambiance, and you looked around with wide eyes at the ripples on the walls. The DJ had previously been playing some soft mood music in the background, announced that the floor was open for dancing, slowly turning the volume up so it drifted through the space. When you glanced at Cove, his eyebrows had shot up, and he mumbled quietly.
Huh.
I didn't know there would be dancing. I guess it makes sense now that I think about it. Of course there's dancing. There's always dancing at these events. He gave an awkward laugh as you both watched as people rose from their seats. It was clear now that many of the donors were couples. People who donate together stay together? I guess. A small crowd had started to form on the dance floor, and the DJ played a romantic song to get everyone started off. Aww. Cove let his gaze float over the small sea of guests who were moving onto the floor, his hands twisting in his lap as his lips pulled into a tight line. And then with a breath and the lift of his hand, he turned to you.
Well...
Want to dance with me? I was just about to ask you the same thing. He let out a stuttering laugh, relieved. Oh, that's good. Accepting Cove's outstretched hand, you rose from your seats together and stepped out onto the floor. When you had found a spot for yourselves amongst the other guests, you turned and faced him, standing close. Cove gave you a small smile as you looked directly at him in front of you. He seemed a little nervous. I don't know how to dance. Not for real. Sweet baby, it's okay. Nobody knows how to dance. Little anecdote. We tried to, or rather I tried to teach the wife how to do just a basic box for the waltz for our wedding. And that didn't turn out so well, so we just kind of ended up swaying. Because that's about as much as she could manage. I love her, but like, ballroom dance, not her thing. He admitted with a slight squeeze to your hand and a sheepish look. You gave him a reassuring grin and nudged a little closer to him still. It's okay, I know. With a familiar face full of affection, he let go of you and raised his arms to slide both of his hands behind your neck. Oh, forward, Cove. You wrapped your arms around him in response. Together, you gently swayed to the music, moving your feet in time to delicate meat. It was nice just being here like this, in each other's arms. You didn't have to worry about whether you knew the right steps or not. There was always a way to make it work between the two of you. Cove leaned his head nearer to yours, his forehead so close to yours that they almost touched. His breath was warm as he let out a contented sigh, tickling your skin. You really do look so good tonight. You're such a stunning person. You clean up pretty well yourself. He chuckled softly as you took a second to admire him, running your eyes down the front of his chest. Joy, where are your eyes going? Have you had a nice time? I hope you did. Bold as fuck. You leaned in and kissed him. His eyelids fluttered closed as your lips met in a soft kiss, and when he pulled back, he smiled at you gently. His bright eyes stayed locked on yours, studying you with unmistakable adoration. Thank you for staying. You're still here, just like you promised you would be. Your heart felt light as you continued to sway whilst holding your most beloved person, so glad to be able to share a moment like this with him. A lot has happened, huh? You nodded faintly. You weren't sure if he meant just today, this summer, or your entire time knowing each other. But it didn't really matter. It was true either way. Thinking back on the years that you and Cove had been neighbors, it was difficult to even try to reflect on it all at once.
I'm so glad.
I'm glad we ended up here. He gave you a soft look and you beamed, knowing that could also mean many things, but from his tone you were certain he didn't only mean here at this event. It was more than that. And I'm actually going to cut it here. I know that has been a very short episode for you guys after the editing, but like, this is as much time as I have because I spent it all doing... yeah, there was just it was a whole thing. Don't worry about it. Anyway, as a special treat, I recently got a my very first Pride shirt. So I think instead of doing my normal end card, I'm actually going to put that picture on the end of this video so that you guys get to see it too. I've already shared it with Twitter today, but for those of you who are not on Twitter, this will keep you in the loop of shit that's going on in my life. You will not get to see my face. Don't get too excited. You will get to see my hair. It is very, very ginger and very messy in this photo. It was a long ass day. But anyway, I thank you guys so much for watching all the way to the end of this video, and I hope to see you again in the next one.